Dear young African comms professional, your future self has something to say. Hi there and welcome to My Younger Self, Dear Young African Comms Professional. This is a special podcast mini-series brought to you by PR Visions Africa in partnership with the Comms Mentorship Circle. I am your host, Blessing Emmanuel Macaulay. This is not your typical highlights conversation. This is a space for telling the truth, for the doubt, for the detours, for the shifts, and for the defining moments that shape who we become as communications professionals on the African continent. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Mncedisi Rowan Dlamini from Eswatini. He is a strategic communicator who has carved out a unique path for himself in the industry. He will be sharing not just where he's landed, but how he's gotten here with honesty, humility, and the kind of perspective that only hindsight can give. We will close with a live reflection from a young communications professional listening in, because mentorship isn't just what we say, it is what we model. Let's dive into today's conversation. Dlamini is a seasoned communications and marketing specialist with 17 years of experience driving strategic brand visibility, stakeholder engagement, product market development, and public health impact across the donor-funded public and private sectors. He has led successful multi-layered campaigns for organizations such as PSI, Young Heroes, and PACT, including nationally impactful work on HIV prevention, adolescent health, and COVID-19 vaccine uptake. He brings deep expertise in strategic communications, media relations, digital marketing, and internal engagement. He is passionate about storytelling and social impact. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dlamini to this episode of our podcast.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. So let's walk down his memory lane a bit. How did you get into communications?
Yeah, I mean, especially I guess it's, other than the cliche of saying it, communications found me. I really say that I didn't take the communications direction when I was growing up. I actually took law. I went to first study law, and I was convinced that I would do commercial law and expand in that field and be a conveyancer someday and things like that. But when I did my law and I finished my, I think it was diploma at the time, and then I went to practice. I worked at in the neighboring country. I worked at a court that was so close to a theater house. So when I'd knock off, I'd go, and I've always loved arts and the like. And, you know, I started surfing on what I really wanted to do. I had the time on my side at the time. I was kind of young. So I was like surfing on what I wanted to do, because I was intrigued by arts and intrigued by adverts and marketing and comms on its own. And when I came back into the country in Eswatini, this was a time whereby we heard a scourge for HIV. So now we had the highest infection rate and the highest prevalence of HIV in the world. We were sitting at somewhere about 28% of the population. So we had funerals every Monday to Wednesday and the weekend. So the situation was bad. And I had an opportunity to come into the space to make an impact. And luckily that opportunity involved communications. So, and the need for us to fill in the gaps was such that what we really, really needed was that, do you have a qualification? If so, can you help out in the space, regardless of what that background was? Up until the comms bug bit me when I was just into it. that's how I ended up in comms. And then then I had to go to school and get my degree and do comms based on that. So I was sort of like channeled into it. And luckily the love for art and the love for comms and marketing in general was there. So that's how I ended up in it. So, and if you could see it from the onset, the channel was more of in development comms from the onset of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you are the typical comms found me guy. Okay, I won't say comms found me because I not like I had an idea what comms was really until I got into university. I just went into study mass communication, and that was because my dad thought mass communication was such a great idea because he thought that I could write and I could be a prominent journalist and all of that. And at some point I wanted to be Christian Amanpour. Is that yeah, I really want because she's such a brilliant journalist and I really wanted to be like her, but eventually I decided this journalism thing, that's not for me. I think I want to do more, and I decided to go into public relations specifically. And at the time my boss, who was the editor of the online department that I was working with, would say to me, you cannot go into public relations without knowing how to tell the good story. And I did not get it until I finally got it. And it wasn't interesting that at the time that I started working in journalism, I didn't know how to write a news story. And the reason I didn't know how to write a news story was because despite my dad saying, oh, you should go and become a journalist, I knew that I didn't want to become a journalist. So I didn't think that I needed to know how to write a good story. So I focused on public relations and advertising. We call it PRAD. And I majored in PRAD. And in PRAD, I just thought, yes, this is where the money is. This is where I'm going to play and all of that. So even eventually I had to learn the basics of writing a news story, because why wouldn't you know how to write a story? Then in writing the story, one day I saw my story on the front page of the paper and I'm like, look at that. I made it. So it was a defining moment for me, but it just gave me confidence. And at that point I began to write stories that editors didn't even need to edit, and then they'll just publish, and I felt really proud of myself. So I found comms, unlike you. But no, I like your perspective, and I especially like that you were intentional about developmental communication because you saw a need and you wanted to step in to fill that need. And it's really great. It's because, again, a lot of people just go in for selfish reasons, and myself included. But you get to a point where you realize that being selfish is not enough. You need to actually make an impact, and then you begin to have that mind shift. So now, knowing what I know, I will start with one of the questions that we asked when you were trying to schedule this meeting, and it was, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? And you said communication isn't just something you do, it is who you are. It is a noun, a verb, and an adjective. If I had grasped its many layers sooner, I would have doubled my efforts from day one. So, what do you think that you could have grasped sooner that someone else listening to this conversation can grasp quickly and then know how to double their efforts?
It's a depth. It's a depth of communications. I mean, when I started off, I thought it was enough to do a task. If we are in comms and you're supposed to do a task, I thought that's enough. You do the task and it's done. And that's the younger me. And whenever you would finish all your tasks and still not get the fulfillment of impact, That's when I realized that there was a gap. Then I started searching what's missing in the space. Um, and again, when I use my own examples, you'll find out that I'll talk about tangible impact in the sense that I'm doing communications and development world whereby the change is actually real. You can actually touch it and see, and its stories and its people. And if there's a product within the public health space that I need to promote and do demonstration of, I can actually see within a very, very short space of time of whether it's working or not. My messaging, are they on point or not? On the platforms and channels that we are using to communicate these messages, are they effective? The measurement was so apparent, and the thing about it was that it wasn't only me in the space that could measure that. It's so easy for everybody to see, to say, you say people should. Let me make an example of one product that would prevent HIV. For instance, if you say people must use condoms, and you go on and you do a fully fledged messaging campaign around using condoms, and you do the whole brand messaging and everything, and then people are still getting infected with HIV. It's easy to say, what are you doing here? So, if going back to the initial question, the younger me needed to know that there's no place to hide in comms. You can't hide. And that, what I know today is that you, having said that, I'm not saying that so that you get scared. I'm not saying that for that because I'm not driving fear. What I'm saying is that there's no place to hide. It's easier to bring your personality to the table around comms day one, which we didn't. I didn't. When I first came in, I thought it's procedure. I thought do A, do B, and that's it. And I left what Mncedisi feels like. I never brought that in. I never put perspective in. I mean, you would know as a writer, you'd know pieces that some you'd write from a technical angle. You'd know pieces that you'd write with your own opinion on. And I'm saying what we're missing in the com space and what I've learned over the years is that our voices become too silent around procedure. And that's what I would go back as a younger me and tell myself that day one. Because immediately you know that day one, you work harder.
Yeah.
You work harder. You won't be behind. It's so sad when I look back today and say, I would be there, but then I didn't push, I didn't buy enough time in between. So for the rest of your career, you're working to catch up. Even though you're improving, but you're still working to catch up. That's the part that I would want to change about the younger me.
I can relate to that completely because, like I said, I got into comms for selfish reasons because I wanted to make money. And I still want to make money. Of course I want to make money, but I'm now at the point where it's more than just money, right? Because I have an understanding that communications is a major tool to wield, and you have to wield it responsibly. You have to wield it for impact. You have to wield it for purpose. So don't just do comms because I want to make the money from it. While getting a paycheck from comms, also look at how can I actually measure what I'm doing. Can I see the impact of what I'm doing? Because I also know that there's so much joy that comes from seeing the impact of your work, not just from getting a paycheck. There's so much joy that comes from seeing. I mean, for you, there was HIV was rampant at the time, but there's so much joy that comes from seeing that the spread has dropped from say 28% to 25 to 20, and then that's such a big deal. And I would encourage anybody listening to this from day one. There's something that my friend Adedoyin says. She says comms is measurable, and she says it, and initially I didn't think that comms was measurable beyond just sending out the press release, beyond tracking how many people actually got how many media actually published, right? How many times was our brand mentioned in terms of earned media and all of that. I thought that was about it until I came to a better understanding of the fact that comms is measurable in terms of impact.
Yeah.
And it's really good that we're having this conversation, because I mean, if you're listening to this, comms is measurable in terms of impact. And of course, there are other measurement metrics, but in the context of this conversation, it's very measurable in terms of impact. And you should bear that in mind from day one, because I also believe that with knowing that you have an understanding of purpose from day one, and you want to work in alignment with that purpose so that you can get things done and not just say, I'm getting paid for it, but you can say, yes, we achieved this and we achieved that, right?
True. I mean, I really like how you summarize and say it's measurable. Comms is measurable. Yes, we talk about impact. We know the back end with analytics and all of your reach and all of your number of published and all of those. Those are very good, and they inform you and inform your direction. Basically, they inform your content calendar. They inform a lot of things, and they're good to have. I mean, I always say, get the tools right in comms. I'd like to say that, and I'm saying that I'm saying that because it's an observation from my end that I got to understand, especially with mentors that were ahead of me as well. When I came into the space, and a fellow young comms professional listening to this should actually try to pick up these few pieces that I'm sharing around learning to actually know whether are you satisfied with knowing tools to use and excel at that, or you're satisfied to knowing how to come with your vulnerability and your learning spirit towards whatever tasks that you have. I mean, this is true from all angles of comms, strategic comms. I mean, for all angles, it's there. If immediately you start to grasp that I can go that extra mile and not hide and start working hard from day one, I'd be far. I'd be very, very far in the field, and I'd have enough time to actually be impacting that. But what I always say, and I say it to the teams that I work with at times, is that, you know, we sort of on an island. You know, we support function. We are a support function in most cases.
Yeah.
And that's tough because you've got a lot of people to convince of your relevance. I mean, when we're getting down to the real part of the work, that's the part whereby comms isn't as flashy and as nice as we make it out to be, especially when we're together and fellow comms professional. The first thing that I do when I see a fellow comms professional, I always know they need a hug. I'm not going to give them a hug, but that's the first thing I know they need, because it's so hard trying to make your voice heard, and yet you are an expert in making your voice heard, but to get it heard in a support function that you are, it becomes very difficult. And sometimes you'll find a department A that doesn't kind of get what you're trying to do, and approvals that don't come on time, and all of those stresses that come with our space. It's only often and it's only natural, and as a young person really, you know, listening to this, you must know and not be surprised when you start getting yourself asking yourself this question, that is this worth it? Because that comes up quite a lot.
Yes.
And is it worth it? Can't I just do something else? Or, you know, there's a lot of that comes in, and unfortunately, that's why I appreciate such platforms, because there's very few of these platforms whereby you get to talk about these things. And usually it's moving on, get to the next target, get to the next achievement, take out the next press release, do the next, it's always about moving. It's
And
okay.
it's also always about the client or the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always about the brand you're servicing, the client, you're making sure that everything is in order. And you sort of take a backs and your interest sort of, and besides, when doing many other tools that we use, we put it out as a rule that as a communicator, please don't fall in love with your own message. Just ensure that it makes impact where it's supposed to go.
Yes.
So you get that. And as you are doing that over the years, you're getting smaller and smaller, your interests are shrinking, and you sort of like don't know where to find yourself. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal. It's just that you got to go with it, and you got to understand that these are the things that build our circle in comms. Pretty tough. Those are tough days. Very, very tough days. It's so easy to resign from work every day when you knock off and you're in comms. It's like, I'm not coming back tomorrow. Those are normal. You're coming back. Don't worry. You'll get.
Yeah. You are.
You'll come back and you'll find a solution, and that's just what you need to continue thinking.
Yes, and thank you for bringing us to this point, because I was going to ask you again about what were the downtimes and how did you navigate those downtimes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take an example. I think it's one that I also put in when doing the registration. That was a tough time. I wouldn't want to not give it its atmosphere by just saying, oh, it's a downtime as if chips are down. That was very tough. Yeah. Very, very tough. Took a toll even on my health. I'm not a big guy. I'm small, but I got smaller during that period. So, I even had to be put on a performance improvement of some mechanic, what they call performance improvement plans. I really thought it was myself who had the problem. I thought it was me. That's why I doubted my contribution. And this is the story. So in that story, what I needed to do was to get clients to circumcise, and that's for HIV prevention. And you got targets to do that. And we needed, for us to make impact in the epidemic, we needed certain numbers. And we took out the messages, we took out everything, we did big campaigns, we did one-on-one messaging, and we were speaking the whole comms, and it just didn't work. And, when you're starting to see that I might even lose a job here, and then you sit down again and you re-strategize and you go out and it doesn't work. Mm. The saddest part of it all, as I'm saying this to inspire the next person, is that it's not sad, but it's the part about it all is that unfortunately I can't show you one thing that I did that turned it around. It was a mixture of many things. The first thing that I think helped was not giving up. Because the giving up part was actually the easiest to do because you just apply for a new job and move on. But then I was like, no, this is more than just not having impact on comms. This is also about the behavior change amongst people that they need so that they are healthy. So I can't abandon this. I can't give up. So I sat down, re-strategized, mapped out all that was supposed to happen. What is it that's supposed to go where? Did that, re-messaged, went back. Now, this is very expensive. I mean, when you talk about re-messaging and going through the whole message development process again, that's money. Yeah. And now you're being expensive on top of not being impactful. But I needed that period to be expensive, and I was expensive for a bit. We did the messages. We redid the messages a bit. We turned around. We started to see an increase in the uptake of the service. We started to see it. It took a little bit of a while. And of course, the problem wasn't just me. It was along the value chain. So it was that maybe supplies are on time. Maybe the doctors are not present when they're supposed to be. There were some other structural problems, but it helped working in comms in the aspect that you could then now try to develop a message along the value chain for for communicating and not just look at one part of it and say, just do this. So yeah, I might not be able to paint that in colors that are easily understandable in terms of how challenging it was. But yeah, that's when stakes were down, and that's when I really thought comms wasn't for me anymore, and yeah, that wasn't good. But it turned around, and I mean, and the passion. So I said, don't give up. The passion, don't let it die, and test yourself during that period. I mean, if you're good, you're good. It doesn't change just because you've got a challenge, then you're no longer good. And that's one thing I'd like to highlight. This is what, when you are in comms and as a support function, you feel like the most when your things bounce and are not moving. You think it's so easy for you to think it's because you're not good. And you forget that you're good. That's why you're there. You're really good. Yeah. You just need to improve because we all need to improve. But you're there because you're good. And for us, it's so easy to forget that. The affirmations around that don't come as often as like we work to serve. So it's so difficult to hear about yourself. Becomes a challenge when it comes to that.
You want to just get the job done. You just want to get the results out, and so you can't even stop to pat yourself on the back. And sometimes someone else doesn't even have the patience to pat you on the back because they want results as well. So yeah, it's
so maybe that's the last part of that question. When I was talking about passion, I was talking about that last part of it is that celebrate your wins.
Yep.
You got to do that. You have to celebrate, even if you're the only one who knows that you're proud of something. Celebrate that. That's going to keep you going, because then you set yourself your own little target to say, I want to beat this last piece that I've just taken out. I want to make sure that I do a better one. So celebrating is very, very important. I agree with you, Blessing.
Very important. Thank you. This has been really, really insightful, even for me. And I just hope that everybody is getting so much value from this. So we're approaching the end. We're going to take our live our live reflection. So Eniola will join this conversation so that we can have a live reflection session. But before we get to that point, the question that we asked about one practical gem or mindset shift. Can you elaborate on that? So don't just master your voice. Don't just master the tools. Bring your personality to the table. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, and I've been saying, I think I've said it twice already, personality to the table and tools. And, maybe let me rephrase it, and I'm thinking top of my head, like just what I really mean is that don't be boring in comms. That's what that's another part of it. Just don't be boring. You've got color. We Africans, you have. The one thing Blessing was saying earlier on was like she likes to travel around Africa and experience different things at different. That's comms. That's what I'm saying. Once you know how to do a task, where's your personality in it? Mm-hmm. Why is it being done by you? Why is it Dlamini who's writing this newsletter? Because this newsletter, or maybe let me say this press release, says that they were not funds that were embezzled by our company here. It says that. Where do you fit in? That's when you need to once. And I say this because I'd like the younger person to think about it for a second. If you don't put your personality on this table, you become replaceable.
Yeah,
you just become replaceable. Why aren't I asking DeepSeek or ChatGPT or somebody, one of these AI tools, to write if they can write?
Yeah.
That's because as good as they can write, they don't have a personality. And you can always read that where are your thoughts here? So I'm not saying it's applicable to every sphere in comms, but I'm just saying for you to have a standout and have a USP, so to speak, in communications, you got to always try to bring your color. Don't overdo it. Do it where it's supposed to go, but that's what I mean by saying on the tip. And that I would tell a younger self. I'd say, my guy, don't be afraid to take out your brushes and paint in this journey. And don't wait to be told that now you can paint. Rather paint and be told, no, 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 we don't need that color here. But
Yes.
you have brought your A game to that particular space. Yeah. So in a way, yeah, that's what I mean. But
Yes, and so interestingly, I don't even know who I was speaking with. I think, yeah, I was in a training last week, and I was telling the team that I was training. Where in fact it was an email marketing training, but it was also from a comms perspective because email marketing is communication, and I had to mention you have to let your personality shine through. If your thing is humor, because I have a weird sense of humor, right? If your thing is humor, bring it in, bring it. Let's have that flavor. If it's sarcasm, let's have that flavor. Now, it may not work for every situation. Of course, you have to read the room. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Don't let it. Well, don't bring it in. But if it works, absolutely, let's have it. But thank you for sharing that, and I hope that someone took that out of this conversation. Okay, we're now going to have Eniola with her live reflection. Hi, Eniola.
Hi. Good.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much thank you, Lamini, for this awesome reflection. I have really learned a lot from this. But I've noted some things. You said celebrate your wins. You said a lot of things, but there is one question that has been on top of my mind. For a fresh graduate trying to navigate a career journey in comms, there are a lot of aspects. There are a lot of aspects in PR and comms, and you're like, oh, yeah, where is my path? Where should I start from? What do I want to do? Sometimes you are even stuck. So how do you find your path, basically? And what is one lesson that you think would help me as I journey through my career in comms?
okay. Hi, Ola. I hope I'm calling your name correctly. I think you ask an interesting question of saying where do you find your space? How do you know which one is yours? Um, and Blessing was saying it earlier on when she was talking about writing, and she ended up writing. She didn't even know she was that good in writing up until she saw her article on the front page. That's unfortunately, you'll find out where you fit in the most comfortable by trying out a little bit of everything. So with the PR that you want to try out, my best advice to you is to get an internship that will allow you to experience as many facets of comms as possible. Get an internship that would allow you to go do internal comms and work very closely with corporate services and issuing out internal newsletters. Develop there and find out, is this for you, and then try to shift to PR and see what you like about that, and and get around the different fields in comms. You will then know which one. And but let me tell you one truth about it is that what you will then pick what you like. Then you need a self-reflection process that will allow you to pick what's good for you, which means picking what you're good at. Because you like PR, and maybe you are amazing at integrated comms, but just because you like it, that's what you'll pick. You need that reflection and honest conversation with yourself to be doing that. You had one last part of the question. I'm sorry, I just missed that last. There was, yeah.
Okay, I said, what is one lesson you think I should learn to help me as I navigate this career journey?
Oh, yeah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. that have a conversation with yourself on being honest with your strengths and being honest with your weaknesses. I think that's a big lesson. What I'm saying is not easy. Being honest about your weaknesses is not easy. It's easy when you're preparing for an interview. I'll just tell them this one weakness. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about comms, and I'm talking about an honest direction for your career. You can't hide behind aesthetics and behind, what you want a portrayal of the image to be. As much as it's good to be intentional about that, at the same time, I'm talking about a self-introspection to realize that this is where I'm at. This is the money that I need to cover ABC. Most of us on this African continent are not from well-off families. We don't have silver spoons. And we don't have the luxury to choose a career that we're comfortable with. We've got to make it work with the spaces within the spaces that we're in. So the advice is that you got to be honest about that, because you have to make it work and you have to start seeing results soon. Otherwise, you won't have the time to be able, or the leverage to be able to move and jump on. And I'm saying this for everyone else who would hear this message, especially as an African. We know we don't have luxury of time and choosing, and we desperately needing to make income out of our careers. And these are the points whereby we need to make decisions honestly with ourselves.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Eniola, and thank you for answering Eniola very graciously. I hope that someone else beyond Eniola has taken that away from this session. So, did you write your letter to your younger self? Did you write?
I did.
Okay, great. So this is your time to read it. So like your younger self can like read it on here.
The whole thing?
No. Just you can just do you can do whatever you can do in 2 minutes. Is good.
Okay. So this is to Mncedisi, my younger me. You're stepping out into a world of comms full of curiosity, ambition, and maybe a little doubt. You're eager to do well. You want to learn fast. That's good. Hold on, so that when you begin, I want to share something I've learned now that I'm this age. And I wish I'd known this earlier. The two types of communicators. That's what the two types of communicators. The first is a textbook communicator. They're familiar with all the theories, frameworks, and tools, and they can recite models and perfect a picture deck and analyze audience with data and with textbook precision. This kind of communicator is valuable. There's nothing wrong with being one. In fact, you will need a little bit of this in your toolkit as you move along. Then there's a second kind of communicator. This one brings personality to the table. They take the tools and theories and infuse them with who they are. They turn communication into connection. They don't just deliver messages, they make people feel something. They speak not just from knowledge, but from lived experience. And the younger me is the kind, and that younger me is the kind I hope you become. Yeah, that's 2 minutes. You want me to go on?
Oh no, that's really that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of lengthy.
It's lengthy.
It goes on to talk about different aspects of them.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have this conversation much later with the comms mentorship circle. I'm hoping that we can have these letters on the platform so that more people can read them and then see that they're not alone. They are. It's not unique. Whatever they're going through, it's not unique to them, and then they can take learnings to apply to where they currently are. So this has been a really, really fantastic conversation, Dlamini. Thank you so much.
Listen, just before I go, then my curiosity, unfortunately, I'll never know, because I'd have retired. I just want to see the next guys coming in and changing the space and doing well, and them having it easier than we did.
Yes.
I really, really appreciate the platform, this particular platform, because of that. Because it really gives them the space to actually grow. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, that's why we decided to do this. So this is a part of the PR Fusions podcast. Season 1 was focused on point blank PR, just talking about PR from an African lens, and this is season 2, and then we're focusing on to my younger self, their young African communications professional. So I'm really hopeful that whoever listens to this episode will take something away, something that they can certainly use to make you proud. Actually, because that's a big deal. Thank you so much, and we have come to the end of this episode of To My Younger Self. Thank you, Dlamini, for joining us to have this honest human conversation. Very honest, very human. No perfection, no perfectionism, no sugarcoating, just the hard facts. And I'm really glad that we're able to do this. If you're a young African communications professional listening, I hope that this made you feel seen and that it reminded you that your path doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be powerful, and that's good enough. Thank you so much for showing up with truth and with generosity. Thank you, Dlamini. Thank you so much.
To My Younger Self is brought to you by PR Fusions Africa in collaboration with Comms Mentorship Circle.